this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden, Killer Bee ends up getting trapped in the infinite Tsukiyomi and is lost in his very own dream world where he's trying to gather the power of all of the Jinchuriki so that they can stop the Akatsuki. Usually I'm not really a big fan of filler episodes of Naruto Shippuden. However, I really like the story that they're doing with this whole Killer Bee Rappuden story, which is really unique, and it kind of reminds me of that cover page they did in the manga version, which was chapter 567 of Naruto, where they showed all of the Jinchuriki together with their own costumes, working together as their very own Jinchuriki team fighting force. And in many ways, this whole Infinite Tsukiyomi Killer Bee story is sort of making that come to life, because in this story, we get to see that all of the Jinchuriki are still alive, they're locked up by their respective villages, and they also happen to be being targeted by the Akatsuki. All of this is very similar to what's actually been going on in the actual story of Naruto. However, the twist is all of the Jinchuriki are gathering together so that they can free this princess from this big castle and destroy the Akatsuki. But there's also some other little details about this week's episode which I think are really funny, and it's going to be immediately apparent at the beginning of the episode, and it's a nice little visual cue which is going to make this filler episode a little more distinctive than some of the other ones, and that's that the actual Jinchuriki themselves actually take the form of these little chibi-ized versions of themselves, which ride on the shoulders of their Jinchurikis. They're not actually within them the entire time, and then they can actually grow into their big monstrous forms and fight against other people. The problem is their power is constantly being siphoned and stolen by the Akatsuki organization, which is ultimately going to lead to some more conflict. But this episode was also kind of funny in many senses, and it also had some really cool confrontations, some of which would never actually happen within the actual series, and that's because this is in a dream world where anything can happen. So, the episode actually opens up with Killer Bee who's trying to break out Gaara and Shukaku, and this is another really cool dynamic right here, just getting to see Killer Bee hang out with Gaara, them getting to do the whole fist bump thing. Immediately when they do touch fists, Gaara knows exactly what's going on, and they're also joined by Yugito Ni, who is the Jinchuriki of the two-tailed cat Matatabe, and Matatabe decides to go after the other Jinchuriki, while Killer Bee and Gaara decide to go after Naruto, which brings them to Konoha Village. And unlike the regular series where Naruto is just allowed to sort of walk around and do whatever he wants, he's actually put in this cage, which is actually on Mount Ninjamore, the giant monument for the Hokage, and hilariously enough, the cage is actually in the mouth of Tsunade, so her mouth actually has this, like, caged-looking grill on it, and it's a really funny image. That and the fact that the eyes on the mountain can actually move around make it kind of creepy, but Naruto's just pissed off because he can't go eat ramen, he's locked up all the time, but luckily Killer Bee and Gaara show up and they decide to save him. That is until suddenly they're sucked into the mountain because the mountain literally almost seems like it comes to life, and then they're swallowed by this giant stone statue of Tsunade, and that's when they run into Tsunade and they play a game of dice. They end up winning and they decide to make a quick escape. It's just a really ridiculous and over-the-top scene, and by the end of the episode, a lot of the Jinchuriki have gathered, and they're going to have to be battling against the Akatsuki, so we're going to see the return of Itachi, Sasori, and Deidara in this week's episode. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden? I don't know what it is about seeing the Jinchuriki in their small little chibi-ized forms, but they totally need to make, like, plush figures of these guys. I totally want to own all of them in that state. And it's just kind of really cool to see them all just sort of hanging out and being all casual with one another. And that's the beauty of this whole Infinite Tsukiyomi arc, is that they can pretty much do whatever they want. Now, I only have one negative about this week's episode, because despite the fact that it was a filler episode, I actually did enjoy it. I really did like seeing these characters in these weird, wacky situations. It's just that the animation and the artwork is just not up to par. Disproportionate looking bodies, shoddy artwork, weird images of Naruto's face, which frankly just look wrong. If only they had a better team working on this could possibly be one of the most memorable filler of all time. Despite that, I still think it's going to be pretty entertaining for fans of the series, if only because they get to see all of their favorite Jinchuriki come back. This is another really great excuse to see these characters again, which for the most part have just been in the background of the series, especially because it's only really focused on a couple of them, and it almost kind of makes me wish they could have gone a little bit longer with this, because I would like them to focus on some of the other Jinchuriki that we've never really had a lot of face time with. But, you know, Killer Bee, Gaara, and Naruto, they really are sort of the stars of the Jinchuriki squad. Overall, I think this was a pretty good episode, and Overall, I thought this was a surprising episode and one that I'm actually kind of shocked that I liked. I was really ready to hate this one from the minute it began, but Killer Bee is still a really funny and infectious character, and seeing him in this week's episode just reminded me why I like him so much. Because Killer Bee can be a really badass character, but he can also be really funny at the same time, whether it be his ridiculously terrible rapping, or just him actually reacting to seeing Tsunade for the very first time, just, you know, being enamored by her two big eyes? Yeah, let's just call them eyes. That's what he was looking at the entire time. The point is, this episode, I think, is a lot of fun and something that I think a lot of Naruto fans should definitely check out, especially if you just read the manga version, because it's really funny to see all of these characters go through these big changes in this weird infinite Tsukiyomi world. So, the episode wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. However, it is going to be a multiple-parter. I was kind of hoping they could get through things a little quicker and maybe we'd get some action, because the preview from last week almost made it seem like we were going to have a lot more of that, especially when they teased the whole Killer Bee fighting against Sorcery thing. And I really hope they do something special with it in the next episode, because not only is he fighting against Sorcery, but he's using his multiple swords techniques where he's just sort of has them all over his body, he's jumping around, switching them around, and right as he starts to do that, the episode actually ends this week. So I really hope next week is going to be a lot of fun. What I will say is, this was a fun episode. It really surprised me, and it had some very funny moments. So I am going to give this week's episode a 3 out of 5, just a fun, average episode of Naruto Shippuden, which is only hampered really by its slow storytelling and the animation and the artwork, which really, again, was nothing to write home about. Before you guys leave today, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden, otherwise known as Killer Bee Rappuden Part 1. Do you have a favorite Jinchuriki? Do you hope they're going to show up in this arc and do something cool? Please tell me in the comments section below, and please tell me what you hope to see from the rest of the Naruto Shippuden anime series. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. You guys should also check out our weekly podcast show, The Powerful Nerdcast. You can find that at iTunes and at RogueIntel.com, as well as on our YouTube channel. Here's a quick little shameless plug-in. I am currently working on a big Star Wars series. I'm doing 100 Star Wars videos for 100 days, all leading up to the release of the brand new Star Wars film, Star Wars The Force Awakens. I just released my first 2 videos, there's another one coming out today. I'd highly recommend checking those out. My first video is an intro, and my second video was all about Darth frickin' Vader. So if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely check it out. So thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.